name of the game is woman. Little darlings come in a-panting, the little hearts a pitter-patting for the handsome, all-knowing bartender.
If you're into exploring the 80s yuppie culture, there are two movies that pop in my head that I can recommend. One is Wall Street and the other is Cocktail, a Tom Cruise movie that has been chucked into the wastebasket of yesteryears and generally forgotten. Well, I'm here to remind you all that this mediocre film exists and it is not as mediocre as you think. I'm Meffistoe, like, share, and subscribe because this is my review of the movie Cocktail.
But if you want to get loaded, why don't you just order a shot?
Cocktail primarily tells the story of Brian Flanagan coming back home from a stint in the army. I always had it in my head that this is actually Maverick from Top Gun and he got successfully ejected from his service, but it is all in my head. Flanagan comes home to his uncle's bar to find his fortune in the big city. His uncle gives him the best advice in the world, but of course Brian Flanagan is young and brash and doesn't listen.
That's because most things in life, good and bad, just kind of happen to you.
A side note, watch the film and go back and listen to the uncle's advice. He pretty much lays down the story of the movie, but at the time, it seems like a sage advice. Brian tries his luck, but every place tells him the same kind of thing. He needs a degree. He needs more experience. So he enrolls into a city college and gets a job working behind the bar at a local tavern for a guy named Doug Coughlin. Doug is smart, but he is street smart. He figures out Flanagan right away, but he also sees potential in him. Brian has a very rough first night. He gets confused with the orders, berates the waitresses, and gets knocked around.
You bitch! Why didn't you just tell me it was a rum and coke?
But because Doug saw something in him, he comes back and starts to learn the real ropes of bartending in New York City.
The waitresses hate me.
Well, you wait till you've given them crabs. Then you'll really know hatred.
As Brian gets more comfortable behind the bar, Doug teaches him more and more about the hustle beyond just serving those drinks, and the two boys develop a firm friendship. They get so in sync, a rich bar owner offers them a job at a fancy place. And even there, the pair makes it big and wows the crowds.
I'm the world's last barman poet. Give us a kiss, you sexy beast!
Flanagan is still a dreamer. Even after quitting college to bartend full-time, he still wants to make it big. He comes up with a plan to travel to Jamaica and work there during the winter and get rich quick. The plan is to save money and then open up a place of their dreams.
We find the right location, do our own renovation. We can start it up for as little as $75,000 cash.
Which the Tooth Fairy will deliver to our doorstep.
However, things aren't sunshines and rainbows. Brian gets a rich girlfriend and Doug is jealous. They make a bet, and when Brian loses because Doug hustled him, he ends the friendship and travels to Jamaica to find his fortune.
How could you feel anything for an assembly line hump that does the book on the first date? I did you a favor, took her off your hand before she really twisted your mind.
3 years later, still in Jamaica, Brian meets Jordan and falls in love with her. Everything is going well until Doug shows up and makes another bet with Brian that ruins his relationship with Jordan.
I haven't seen him for a while, and I've never been in this joint before, but I will bet my bile duck he's got some kind of success manual behind the bar.
Back in New York, Brian is lost. He can't handle his affair with an older rich woman. He tries to set things right with Jordan and discovers she's pregnant. So he comes back to Doug begging for a job and discovers that Doug was all facade, and it's time for him to wake up and face the music.
The luck is gone, the brain is shot, but the liquor we still got.
If you look at the grand total of an entire career so far, this is probably Tom Cruise's worst film or one of the worsts, especially if you look at the critics' score. I always find him pretty perfect for this particular role. He brought the same cockiness that he had in Top Gun and in The Color of Money, but in this role, he turns it up an extra notch.
I make drinks so sweet and snazzy, the iced tea, the kamikaze, the orgasm.
It's that smugness and arrogance that accompanies Cruise's career in the 80s and a bit far into the 90s. up until the point where he left the drama and comedy and focused more on action roles. To me, he embodies the wannabe 80s young adult that wanted to have money fast and hard. Sort of the same spirit we got from Charlie Sheen in Wall Street or Michael J. Fox's Alex B. Keaton in Family Ties. In many ways, you can say that he played the same guy just on the opposite side of the country in The Rain Man. Same ambition, same arrogance, same petulance, but as opposed to the serious nature of the role in Rain Man, this role in Cocktail has a lot more lightheartedness and a lot more fun.
A diamond in the rough. The dreamer who can't take the criticism.
Not from a guy who hides here because he can't hack it in the real world.
The real stealer of the show is actually Brian Brown's Doug Coughlin, the street-smart Doug who knows best and knows the streets of New York and how it really operates. Doug is the wake-up call that Brian needs to get him set for true life. Doug sees in Brian a younger version of himself that he needs to mold. He takes over the mantle of the father figure that he thinks Brian or anyone should have. But deep down inside, Doug is as lost as Brian when it comes to the wide world.
Douglas Coughlin. Logical negatives. Flourished in the last part of the 20th century. Propounded a set of laws that the world generally ignored.
Doug is a true alcoholic, not in the sense that he is close to dying of alcohol poisoning like in Leaving Las Vegas, but a functioning alcoholic that sees the world through the prism of a glass. His whole set of values and morals comes from a distorted view through the drinking cup.
You couldn't have found a better work-study program than right here. To a future leader of America.
Let's stick with the brew.
At the end of the day, he was even aware of it, but too afraid to admit it until there wasn't any other choice. It is this dysfunctional friendship between a mentor and a reluctant student that keeps this movie interesting. When Brian and Doug interact in the movie, it's magical. When it's not, the movie seems to slow down to a crawl and become somewhat less interesting.
A bartender is the aristocrat of the working class. He can make all kinds of moves if he's smart.
Regardless of the critics, I think that Cocktail is worth your time, if only just to experience Coughlin's Laws. A fun 80s period piece that teaches you everything you wanted to know about the late 80s era in New York City and the relentless pursuit of money and your dreams.
Coughlin's Diet. Cocktails and dreams.
Hey, that's not a bad name for a joint.
I thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this review, smash that like button to help me out and beat that algorithm. Check out other reviews that I've done in the past, or check out our live Saturday show where we cover all sorts of amazing films. And remember, hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. I'll see you on the next video.